There is something deeply unsettling about watching someone lie to you and saying nothing. Not because you are weak, not because you are afraid, but because you are waiting, quietly, patiently, deliberately waiting for exactly the right moment. My name is Nadia. I was 38 years old, a forensic accountant with 12 years of experience, tracking financial deception for some of the largest legal firms in the country. My entire career was built on one simple truth: numbers never lie. People do, but numbers never do. My husband Carter forgot that. Or maybe he never thought it applied to him. We had been married for 11 years. From the outside, we were the couple people pointed to. Stable, comfortable, grown up in all the right ways. Carter was charming and well-liked. The kind of man who remembered everyone's name and made every room feel warmer just by walking into it. I loved that about him. For a long time, I genuinely loved that about him. But charm, I have learned, is sometimes just a very polished surface hiding something much darker underneath. The first lie I caught was small. 3 years into our marriage, a dinner he said he attended, a work event that his colleague later mentioned, casually had been canceled that week. I noted it, filed it away, said nothing. The second lie came 8 months later. A weekend trip with friends that I discovered, quite by accident, had only involved one other person, and that person was not any friend I had ever met. I noted it, filed it away, said nothing. By the time year 5 arrived, I had a folder, not a metaphorical folder, a real one, organized, dated, documented, receipts, inconsistencies, screenshots of location data from our shared family account that placed him somewhere entirely different from where he claimed to be. I am a forensic accountant. Building a case is what I do. Carter would come home and look me in the eye and tell me about his day. Detailed, convincing, completely fabricated stories, delivered with the confidence of a man who had never once been questioned. And I would listen. I would nod. I would ask follow-up questions that he answered smoothly. And every single time, I already knew the truth. People have asked me since, why didn't you confront him immediately? Why wait? Why let it go on? And my answer is always the same. Because I wanted everything. Not just the argument, not just the confession. I wanted the complete, undeniable, documented truth. The kind that leaves no room for negotiation. No space for excuses, no possibility of him turning it around on me. I wanted to be so prepared that when the moment came, it would be over before he even realized it had begun. By year 8, the folder had become something more substantial. Her name was Renee. She worked in Carter's industry, not at his firm, but close enough that their paths crossed regularly at conferences and events. I had met her twice. Both times she had been warm, friendly, entirely composed. The kind of composed that comes from practice. What Carter didn't know was that Renee had a business partner who had once been a client of mine. And that world, the professional world, is considerably smaller than people assume. I didn't go looking for information. It found me in the way things do when you are paying attention. A passing comment at a professional lunch, a name mentioned in a context it shouldn't have been, a connection made quietly, privately, in the back of my mind while I smiled and passed the bread basket and said nothing. At home, Carter was performing our marriage with increasing confidence. He had grown comfortable, the way people do when they believe they have perfected something. His stories were smooth. His affection was consistent. He even suggested that year that we renew our vows for our 10th anniversary. I said I would think about it. Meanwhile, I kept building. The emotional weight of those years is difficult to describe. There were nights I lay beside him in the dark and felt a grief so deep it had no bottom. Not just for the betrayal, but for the loss of the person I had believed he was, the man I had chosen, the future I had imagined. There were mornings I looked at him across the breakfast table and felt absolutely nothing, a numbness that had replaced what used to be love so gradually. I hadn't noticed it leaving, but underneath the grief, underneath the numbness, there was something else, something that had been growing quietly the entire time. Clarity. I knew exactly what I had, I knew exactly what it proved, and I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. The shift happened completely on a Tuesday. Evening in October, our 11th anniversary. Carter came home with flowers and a reservation at the restaurant, where we had had our first date. He was warm and attentive and everything a loving husband performs when he is trying to believe his own story. Over dinner, he reached across the table and took my hand. 11 years, he said. I'd choose you again every single time. I looked at him, smiled softly, and thought, tomorrow. The next morning, while Carter was in the shower, I placed a single envelope on the kitchen table. Inside it was a 12-page document, organized chronologically, every inconsistency, every verified location discrepancy, every receipt, every date, every cross-referenced lie, documented with the same precision. I brought to every professional case I had ever built. On top of the document, I placed a simple note. I have known for a long time. I have said nothing until now because I wanted to be certain. I am certain. My lawyer's contact information is on the last page. Then I picked up my already packed bag. I had packed it 3 days earlier. And I walked out of our home. Carter called within the hour. Then again. Then 11 more times before noon. I answered once, calmly, gave him 60 seconds to say whatever he needed to say. He used those 60 seconds on, I can explain, and it wasn't what it looked like. And please just come home. I said, Carter, I built the entire case myself. There is nothing to explain. Then I hung up. The divorce proceedings were remarkably efficient. When the documentation is complete and the evidence is organized and the opposing party has no credible counter-argument, things move quickly. Carter's lawyer advised him, I was told, to settle without contest. He did. I walked away with exactly what was fair. Not more, not less. Exactly what 11 years of genuine contribution deserved. Renee, I heard much later, ended things with Carter within months of the divorce. Apparently the version of him she had known. Exciting, slightly dangerous, always slightly unavailable, was considerably less appealing once he was simply available. I felt nothing when I heard that. Not satisfaction, not sadness, just the quiet confirmation that the truth, once fully revealed, has a way of rearranging everything. I am not someone who celebrates another person's suffering. What I did was not about destruction. It was about documentation, about refusing to accept a version of my own life that was built on someone else's lies. Here is what I want you to understand. If you are somewhere right now, feeling the weight of something you can't quite prove, trust what you notice, document what you find, and never, ever confront from emotion alone, confront from certainty. Carter lied to my face for years, and I smiled, and I listened, and I built the case, because the most powerful response to a lie is not anger, it is evidence.